and welcome to the Gone Traveling Podcast. We are looking at the BKT EuroCup episode 15 of the 2025-26 season. And we, being myself, David Hein of Taking the Charge and Hein News, as well as Marco Munno, communications specialist and collaborator with La Journal Tatipo. Marco, Happy New Year. How are we doing?
Well, we had some games in between the celebrations, so we are just moving from one to another, and we are going to start the new year with a lot of hopes and hoops.
Yeah. Um, Round 12 was a long one. It started actually before Christmas. There was the NINERS Chemnitz victory over Besiktas way back on the 23rd. And then, time of recording yesterday, Friday, January 2nd, we had the final two games of the round. So, quite a long round of games. We're going to look at it. The two teams are leading, the two leaders of the groups are still Jerusalem and Borg, and now they both have two game leads at 10 and 2, and then both of them have two teams at 8 and 4 behind them. So a little bit of distance for the two leaders. I'm sure that they're really happy about that, knowing that the top two spots gain home court advantage in the playoffs. Also get a bye in the first round of the playoffs. So that's obviously crucially, uh, massively important. And yeah, the playoff races are still crazy as ever. Actually, I guess maybe not quite as crazy as last year, but there's still plenty of time to kind of get to that. Let's jump into it right away. And you wanted to talk about that Besiktas, the Chemnitz victory over Besiktas. Chemnitz now 3 wins in a row, 4 of the last 5 games, up to sixth place in the playoffs as of now, and Besiktas at 8 and 4 with two straight losses, down to third because they don't have the tiebreaker with Buducnost, and 6-0 at home, but 2-4 on the road. So they've struggled to really perform on the road. And yeah, this was Chemnitz bending but not breaking. So I'll let you go ahead and talk about the game.
Yeah, yes, and when we were talking about surprises or at least crazy results or something a bit unexpected, the Chemnitz that is winning against Besiktas is definitely one of them. Okay, they're home. Their record at home is way better than the record away. But I think you were not thinking that Besiktas would really lost because they were fighting for the top spots there in the Group B. And instead, Chemnitz was really good. They scored 97 points, and mostly they found something that they don't really found along the season. That is the outside shooting. I mean, they're shooting about 30% from 3 points instead. Against Besiktas, they were really on fire. So they were shooting like 56% from 3 points, and you are really another kind of team. You scored 97 points, and then you open up the space on the paint, and you got another player that we talked about some episodes ago. That is battling on the paint. And if you got like to guard people on the perimeter, you will find more space inside, and then so scored 27 points. And he also scored the winning basket in the last minute, in which there were just only errors and one basket, and it's the so one. So in the battle of let's say in the battle of tension, also Chemnitz that was really leading from the beginning, and uh, was suffering the Besiktas run in the last quarter. that tied the game at 95. They won the second time in the same game with the last basket by So, and then they are really now in a position in which you have to um, count on them on the playoff race. uh, London Lions and Ulm are one game behind, and but Chemnitz as for now is making some results, and you can see that they are sixth into the group, and so is the last spot. So you are watching your back, but you can also watch in front, and they got Turk Telecom and Trento. They are only one game away. So they're now on fire, and the playoff spot, and for the playoff spot, they are really making their noise.
Yeah, they beat Ulm by 11 points, and they have only a 1 point loss to London back in round 4, and we'll get to them. They face off again in round 13. You mentioned it was a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter, and Ben not break is, they gave it up, but they never let Besiktas actually pull ahead. So congratulations to Chemnitz, a big, massive victory in their fight for the playoffs. Victory, sure, at home, but a victory over a team like Besiktas, that goes a long way in. You're going to need to get one of those here or there if you want to survive a playoff fight. Um, that is the playoff fight in Group B, and I want to talk about a big game in the playoff fight in Group A. Two teams that were at 5 and 6 going into the Group A game. Didn't see much defense. Neptunas against Umana Reyer Venice. Reyer broke a club record of 118, 103 victory, just a thrilling shootout in Klaipeda, Lithuania. Really a big victory for Reyer. They swept the season series, so they go to 6 and 6. They won just their second game on the road too, which is important for them to show that they can win games on the road. Lietkabelis down to 5 and 7. And what Kyle Wiltshire was on fire. He had the announcement that him and his wife were expecting a baby boy, their first boy after 2 girls. So he mentioned after the game that he was, on cloud 9 and playing fantastic basketball. And so, I mean, what you get with Wiltshire, but what was impressive was the guy we talked about last week, Jordan Parks. Both him and Kai Bowman were out, and those were the third and fourth leading scorers for this team. And you had the rest of the team really step up. Chris Horton scored 16 career high. Carl Wilton, 14 points, career high. Stefan Nikolic, career high of 14. 31 assists, a new career record. And basically there was a 3 minute, so 100, 221 points was the most points ever in a EuroCup non-overtime game. And so there wasn't much defense that was played, but there was 3 minutes in the fourth quarter where Reyer was able to put together an 0-12 run, and that decided the game basically. And massive victory, because that puts actually Reyer right at the moment is atop of the three-way tie at 6 and 6. And then you have Cluj right there, just one game ahead, and then you have the two at 8 and 4. So massive victory for Reyer, especially, like I said, because they were missing Parks, who I want to say scored 30 last week, right? Last round, and without Bowman. So congrats out to the Italian boys. You want to move to the other Italian team. You want to talk about DJ Steward over at Trento, Dolomiti Energia Trento, 85-74 home victory over London Lions. You want to go back over to Group B and talk about the playoff race over there. So talk about DJ Steward. DJ Steward with a D, not DJ Stewart with a T. He plays over at Cervita Olimpia Ljubljana.
Well, yes, DJ Steward, because when you look at Trento, the player that comes up to mind is Jones, obviously.
Devante
From the
Jones.
beginning of the season, he's doing pretty well, and also this round when they win against London, you are thinking about his performance, but he's got really a great player on his side. On the backcourt, that is Steward, and thing is that if Jones is really making noise, and we already talked about that, Steward is really consistent um, next to Jones, and also at the beginning of the season is the first season in Europe for him, and you don't know how much he can do it, and you don't know if in the starting five, in the new starting five of Trento, he or Battle will be the starter. And which one would be coming from the bench, and also taking profit from the battle injury at the beginning of the season. Stewart is really making his case for the starting five, and also is pretty solid. He scored 18 points, and it's the third time of the season he scored 18 points. So he can really make consistence. And also in the game with London Lions, if you see the final score, you will see like Trento winning, and it seems like a comfortable game, but it was not like that, because they were going back and forth on the first quarter, on the second quarter, and every time Trento got some problems, it was Stewart that was really scoring for Trento, and it happened into the first quarter, into the second quarter, two times that London was trying to win, because in the Group B they're really fighting for the spot. It was really an important game, because uh, if London was winning and they won the first game against, they were also thinking about the tiebreaker, and Stewart was really there when it was most needed. I mean, you can look at the numbers, but you can also see how the number were collected in any game. And Stewart was really there into the first and the second quarter when London Lions was making their breaks, and he was the guy that always was. Uh, Resisting for Trento when it was needed, and if at the end Trento won, yeah, you can see Jones, but you can also see that Stewart is really there when it's needed for in a backcourt that is really improving along the season.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that you know, uh, let's say the saving grace, if you will, for London is that they actually still hold the tiebreaker because they won by 16 at home way back in round three. But this is a totally different Trento team. I mean, you could see it every week. They've just seemed to be, getting stronger and stronger. Don't look now; they're 7-5, 4 wins in a row, and they won at Ulm, at Borg, leaders. They beat Buducnost at home, and then now they've beaten London. And this is a London team that just last week beat Besiktas. And so hats off to Trento. I was talking to somebody else and I say, hey, that's the team I don't want to face right now, because they're right up there getting closer and closer, and the way they play, they're one of the better teams on the road at 4-2. This was only their third victory at home. They're 3-3 at home, so definitely a big performance. I'm going to stay in Group B. I'm going to hang out with you for a while in Group B. And my guy that I want to talk about is, we've talked about a lot of different players with Buducnost, Rashid Suleiman, Farrell, but I want to talk about Nikola Tanaskovic. Massive game for him with 17 points and 13 rebounds in Buducnost's massive victory, 91-81 over Turk Telekom Ankara at home. And so it was kind of like a double win too, because they also actually took the tiebreaker as well, because Turk Telecom had won by 7 points back in round three. And because of Buducnost's win over Besiktas earlier in the season, Buducnost is actually second. They have the tiebreaker right now over Besiktas. Turk Telecom, they had been rolling on the road. They'd won 5 straight games on the road, but now 7-5. And this was the first victory ever by Turk Telecom and Tanaskovic. Like I said, 17 and 8 and 13. He's averaging 12 points a game, nearly 6 rebounds a game, almost 60% shooting. He's averaging 2.2 offensive rebounds a game, including 8 offensive rebounds in the last 2 games. And a couple of games ago against London, he showed that he can really score. Had 20 points. So we, like I said, we talk a lot about guys. We talked about Fletcher McGee. We talked about Skylar Mays. We talk about a lot of different guys, but this is sort of the silent killer who just cleans up stuff, and is effective around the basket, and just helps you in a variety of ways. And if you have him being there doing those type of things in the paint, for you not making mistakes, you put yourself in a strong situation to win. Anything on either Buducnost or Turk Telecom?
Well, I think they got a guy like Yogi Ferrell that is really uh, giving some experience where when it's needed. Also in that game, he was really important into the crunch time, and we are always thinking um, as Buducnost as a bit of a dark horse, and from Solomon and also now from Yogi Ferrell, they are um, finding some resources that can really put them in their spots. So they're really dangerous, and also at home they got always that kind of push uh, from the whole um, from the old fans from the old fan base. So I think you can really consider them as a bit of a dark horse if some of the teams that are really the favorites, the clean favorites for the cup will fall along the way.
Yeah, and I mean, another thing that just another last thing on Buducnost, there's quite a bit of continuity to this team. They have a good group of players who are back on the team from last year. They didn't overhaul the team massively, which obviously takes a while for them to kind of that team that maybe overhauls to kind of gel. So they have that advantage. Okay, let's move on to the next game, next player actually, and you wanted to talk about Dusan Miletic over at Cluj, the thrilling Cluj over in Group A. We're switching spots. You're taking Group A for me. Cluj wins 94-92 at home over Slask, 7-5 now for Cluj. 4 straight losses for Slask. They've reverted to the old Slask that everybody hated to know, and have now lost 4 in a row at 4-8. Cluj were down by 8 points and came back to win the game, and a big part of that whole game was Dusan Miletic. So, what do you got on him and Cluj?
Yeah, basically, when you think as Cluj, you are always thinking about Fax Russell, and also that game with Slask can be really important to solidify their position onto the playoff race. But and also in this game, Russell was one of the men of the 2 men, but it was not the only one because there was also Miletic, and they were really dominating at the end when the game was really close. If Russell was scoring a crazy 4 point play to tie the game, he was also the guy that was missing the last shot, but then Miletic happened, and then he was correcting and then slamming the ball for the win. And they were really kind of historic in their match, because they both have a PAR of more than 30, over at least 35, and it doesn't happen so often. Russell at 37, and then Miletic has 35. So they were really the 1-2 punch. And then, Miletic is not really a guy that you are at the first glance you will find this is importance, but you can find his presence as for now. And he was also a former player of Slask, so it seems like he had some against his former team. And not only because he was also a former player of Sloga, that is the club in which Vlade Divac was starting his career, about Serbian big man. And he was a lot of time on loan between Partizan and Borac, and then he puts up a triple double on Borac, on that put him a bit on the map. And triple doubles are not really common. And then he also had some games with the Serbian national team, and being selected into that kind of team is just a feature of a feat of itself, because everybody knows that all the competition that you have to be a member of the Serbian national team. And in this time, it was really important and effective. And if Cluj, is playing a good EuroCup, yeah, you got Russell, but you have also his backup, and this time his backup was really huge for an important victory.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked all the time about so much about Cluj, and I mean, it's just a thrilling team to watch, and it's going to be Molinar, it's going to be Guzman, even Woodbury can have a game here or there. Caesar had a couple big games, and that's what you're going to need. That's what you're going to need when you do these, when you win these type of games, and when you're challenging for the playoffs. So congrats to Cluj, big victory. They needed that. They couldn't really afford a loss to Slask, a team that's almost they're 2 games out of the playoff race right now, and it's gonna be difficult for them. They really kind of they're 0-6 at home, on the road. They need to win road games. They're 4-2 at home. They're able to play well at home, but just have not done nothing at home, on the road at 0-6. So they're gonna have to do something. All right, I'm gonna head over to. I'm gonna go. Let's see, Lietkabelis. I'm gonna go back over to Group B, and I'm gonna talk about Lietkabelis. They had lost. They had lost 3 games in a row. Ulm kind of on a down spell as well. And when you think of Lietkabelis, you think of Flowers, you think of Kulame. They brought in IMAC. They lost Rubit, but a guy that we really haven't talked much about is Furmanavicius. Justas Furmanavicius just arrived. This was his 3rd game with the team. He had been over with Anvil earlier in the season, but really didn't play. And so bringing him back to Lithuania. He had been in Serbia last season, Bora Sachak, and was at Unova in the season before that. So coming back home, and I think he had 7 points or so. I think he had 7 points in his first 2 games, but came in here and 14 points, 2 steals, and there was a big run at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and we'll get to that in a second. But he really put on the exclamation point with this massive dunk. If you haven't seen it, go back and check. I mean, I assume it's going to be in the top 10 highlights of the week. Drove down the lane, and if you don't know him, I didn't really know him very much from Panevezys, and he just skies and dunks over. I can't remember who put him on a poster, but it was like, where did that come from? And actually, just looking just before while you were talking before, I was looking to see, and he had big, massive poster dunk last year in the ABA League. So if you're watching Lietkabelis and then all of a sudden you see a guy sky for a massive, tomahawk, poster dunk, it might just be useless for Mitzi. It was a huge victory for Lietkabelis, 79-89 at Ulm, to really keep alive their slim hopes. 3-9. You're 3 games behind. But if you're gonna make a comeback, you need to do this. Flowers. Big victory, big in the victory was 26 points. And it was a 17-0 run to start the fourth quarter for a 14-point lead with 5 minutes left. And then Lietkabelis, they grabbed 5 offensive rebounds in the final 4 minutes to really deflate any hopes that Ulm had of coming back. So, congratulations. I know, we didn't talk about Hapoel Jerusalem. We didn't talk about, Borg. We didn't talk about some of the other teams, but when a team like Panevezys breaks a losing streak, and a guy like Furmanavicius comes in and has a big game, I think there's a lot of value to talking about it. So I assume you don't really want to talk too much about Ulm or Lietkabelis. There were other games that we didn't talk about. Is anything else that you want to touch on at all before we move on to round 13?
Well, that maybe the fact that we had like 1, 2, 3 games that was really having a 2 points distance. So also the Berg game. So against Panionios, when you were maybe probably expecting a bigger win from Berg, but I mean a win is a win. And also we got a huge new arrival from Başakşehir, that is Jordan Ford. So they are really adding some firepower on their backcourt their for their purpose to win the
To win
EuroCup.
it. To win it. Yeah, say it. That's their purpose. They want to get to the EuroLeague next year. All right, let's move ahead to round 13, January 6th and January 7th. What are you watching? What are the big games you have in your sights?
Yes, I think we can see the huge big match of the round, that is Cedevita against Başakşehir. We already talked about that. I think this is the game to focus the most into the next round.
Yeah, I think we might talk about that next week. Maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and Başakşehir, they won by 16 at home against Cedevita. So you have to imagine that Cedevita is really going to want to grab this victory, because you don't really want to fall. You don't want to lose the season series. You want to at least split now with Başakşehir. Making up a 16-point loss in round 4 is going to be pretty heavy. Lots of games, lots of other games. I mean, that's obviously the marquee, but you have in group A, Manresa and Aris, 6-6, 6-6. You have in group B, you have Trento, Turk Telecom and Trento. We mentioned Trento, 4 wins in a row. Turk Telecom, kind of slumping a little bit, and Turk Telecom have a 20-point victory in the other round. So, home court tiebreaker is not really that much of a possibility. But then also in Group A, you have Reyer at 6-6 and Cluj at 7-5. So another one. Cluj won that overtime thriller, 103-102 at home in round 4. So Reyer knows if they basically win by 2 points, they would have the tiebreaker over Cluj, and then that last game, the last game that has tip off, and that's London, London at home against Chemnitz, and London 5-7, Chemnitz 6-6. So fighting on the brink of those playoff spots. So really a massive week, a massive round of games. I think the importance of the games this upcoming round are a little bit more is a little bit higher than round 12. I'm really looking forward to the action in round 13. All right, let's call that a day. First podcast of 2026. Marco, why don't you let people know where they can find you?
Yeah, you can basically find me on all the social media, but mostly on X as Marco E. Munno, Munno.
And I am on Twitter basically at Hein News, HEINNEWS, HEINNEWS, Hein News. This has been episode 15 of the Gone Traveling podcast, looking at the 25-26 season of the Euro Cup. Round 12 is in the books, and we are now waiting for round 13, and we won't have to wait very long. The time of day of recording is Saturday, so only have to wait a couple days, and we have more games to watch. Marco, Happy New Year again, and to everybody else out there, enjoy the start to 2026, and we'll catch you next show.